The moment I saw Nolan Arbaugh, the first person with a Neuralink implant, control his computer with just his mind, I knew the tech world had changed forever. Apple's Vision Pro is trying to create immersive experiences by strapping a cell phone to your face. But Elon Musk's company Neuralink is taking a completely different approach, connecting directly to the brain itself. This tiny chip could give us the ability to see in infrared and UV light, control robots telepathically, or even create immersive digital worlds that are so realistic you can't tell the difference from the world you're living in right now. If Neuralink succeeds, we won't just see the end of VR headsets. We'll witness the biggest evolution in human capability since we developed language. For any tech insider, they know what's going to happen. It's not a question of if brain interfaces will replace headsets, it's a matter of when. Welcome back to Neura Pod. Today, I'm talking about something that sounds like it's out of a sci-fi movie plot, but it's actually 100% real. After 5 years of studying Neuralink and actually meeting the people with these implants, I can tell you, the technology that's gonna make Apple's Vision Pro completely obsolete, it already exists. Now don't get me wrong, Apple's Vision Pro is a sweet piece of tech, but $3,500? Which is before the upgrades and taxes, by the way. I mean, I get it. It's a spatial computer that puts digital content right in your field of view, 23 million pixels of resolution, and 13 cameras in total for hand and eye tracking. It's the total package. Or is it? Even major tech companies like Google have attempted and failed in the augmented reality space. Yes, I'm talking about Google Glass, which, in my opinion, was an awesome project. I was excited for Google Glass 2, but we all know what happened. It was supposed to revolutionize how we interact with technology, but it ended up becoming one of Google's most high-profile failures. Here's what most people don't understand. When you compare external devices like the Vision Pro to what Neuralink is doing with direct brain interfaces, it's like comparing a horse-drawn carriage to a Tesla. Sure, they're both going to get you from point A to B, but one of them is clearly the future. A Neuralink gets you to points C, D, and E, effortlessly. I've personally met Nolan Arbaugh, the first person to ever get a Neuralink, and also Brad Smith, the first person with ALS to get the Neuralink. I've interviewed them, visited their homes, and ate meals with their families.
So look crooked here. Looks crooked to me.
Like, it's...
Yeah.
I don't know what it's used for. I just got this, and I got this like a week before. Their lives have changed for the better, because what they can already do with this technology is absolutely mind-blowing. And we're just getting started. Let's start by understanding what these two technologies actually are and what they can do right now. The Vision Pro is Apple's first attempt at a mixed reality product. Released back in early 2024, it runs on Vision OS. It's a very impressive piece of software that allows you to arrange multiple apps in your actual physical space and use features like Mac Virtual Display that creates a large private 4K monitor in thin air. But, like I said earlier, the fundamental architecture is the wrong approach. First of all, Vision Pro's premium price point puts it way out of reach for the average consumer. But even setting aside the cost, it's still pretty bulky, has terrible battery life, like 45 minutes of real usage, and creates this odd sense of isolation from the people around you. Plus, you look like a total goofball wearing it. Neuralink's tiny chip is a brain-computer interface, or a BCI, that's implanted with a custom robot. This robot places thousands of tiny electrode threads, each thinner than a human hair, into specific areas of your brain. The thing is, it may sound super scary. I mean, who wants a computer chip plugged into their head? But once your neighbor or your cousin gets one of these brain chips implanted, you're gonna become less scared of getting one too.
It's gotta be like LASIK. Like if LASIK had to be done by hand by a person, that wouldn't be great.
Yeah.
You know? It's done by a robot. And the ophthalmologist kind of just needs to make sure your head's in the right position, and then they can just press a button and go.
You're never gonna want a bulky headset strapped to your face ever again. The current human trials are focused on people who are paralyzed from spinal cord injuries or ALS. These patients can now control computers directly with their thoughts, something Neuralink calls telepathy. Elon posted that telepathy enables control of your phone or computer, and through them almost any device, just by thinking. Initial users will be those who have lost the use of their limbs. Imagine if Stephen Hawking could communicate faster than a speed typist or auctioneer. That is the goal. Your brain has around 86 billion neurons, and they're constantly firing electrical signals at each other. These signals are what produce your thoughts, emotions, actions, and everything you see or hear. You can think of yourself as just electrochemical signals in your skull. Everything else is just a meat blob. Neuralink's electrodes can detect these brain signals and translate them into digital commands. Right now, the device is implanted in the motor cortex, but in the coming years, it'll be in other brain regions where it will literally read your thoughts. But reading thoughts is just the beginning. To understand why I believe Neuralink will eventually make technologies like the Vision Pro obsolete, we need to look at the fundamental approach of both companies. Apple's approach with the Vision Pro is just an extension of their existing product lineup. They're creating what they call a spatial computer, essentially taking the digital experiences we already have and making them more immersive by projecting them into our physical space. It's impressive technology, but it's fundamentally still an external device that we interact with through our existing senses. We see the displays, we hear the spatial audio, and we move our hands and eyes to control it. Apple is improving, but not changing, the fundamental relationship between humans and computers. Neuralink, however, is completely reinventing the interface. The way we interact with our digital devices is changing from our grubby little fingers to directly controlling things with our brain. When people see a cell phone, they don't think about how they interact with it. They just think of it as a cell phone. But the way they send information to the digital device is extremely slow. This is about to completely change everything you thought you knew about using technology. And this is where my provocative title comes from. In the long term, brain-computer interfaces will make all prior interfaces obsolete, because they'll offer fundamental advantages that can't be matched by any external device, no matter how sophisticated. Having practically no ceiling is what makes this so exciting. Neuralink's head neurosurgeon, Dr. Matt McDougall, explained this well in this interview clip.
But you have to ask yourself, when you're looking at a technology, what's the ceiling? What's the theoretical maximum? And for a lot of these technologies, the theoretical maximum is very low, disappointingly low, even if it's perfectly executed and perfectly developed as a technology. And I think the thing that attracts a lot of us to a technology like Neuralink is that the ceiling is incredibly high. There's no obvious reason that you can't interface with millions of neurons as this technology is refined and developed further. It's an important caveat when you're evaluating these technologies. You really want it to be something that you can expand off into the sci-fi.
Elon Musk and Neuralink are creating real virtual reality. Apple, Meta, Google, Microsoft, they're all creating these virtual reality or augmented reality headsets. But the crazy thing is that in the future, people will prefer to have an implanted brain chip than a headset on their face. I am absolutely positive about this. Now you might be asking, why are you so confident about this, Ryan? Well, let me explain the 3 fundamental advantages that I believe will make brain interfaces like Neuralink the ultimate winner in human-computer interaction. First, there's bandwidth. Think of it as the ceiling at which information can flow between your brain and a computer. Typing on a keyboard is like trying to empty a lake with a straw. You're limited to around 40 to 100 words per minute. Vision Pro's eye tracking and gestures will improve this a little bit, maybe like using a garden hose instead. But you're still constrained by your physical body. But your brain processes information at a rate of about 11 million bits per second. Even the most advanced external interfaces can only capture a tiny fraction of this. It's like comparing that garden hose to Niagara Falls. Of course, this isn't just a small difference in speed. They are fundamentally different categories of connection. No matter how good Apple makes their headset, they'll always be limited by how quickly we can move our eyes or hands. Neuralink bypasses these biological bottlenecks completely. Brain interfaces will eventually let you communicate at the speed you think. Second, there's integration. External devices like Vision Pro, no matter how sleek, are still separate from us. They require conscious effort to use. Brain interfaces will become seamless extensions of our own minds, as natural to use as thinking itself. And third, there are sensory limitations. Our eyes can only see so much, our ears can only hear certain frequencies, and our sense of touch has clear limitations. Vision Pro is constrained by our biological limitations, but brain interfaces like Neuralink could eventually bypass these constraints entirely. They could potentially create entirely new senses, or enhance our existing ones beyond their biological limits. Neuralink is more or less constrained by digital limitations. Consider vision. Apple's Vision Pro has incredible displays with 23 million pixels, but our eyes can only perceive so much detail. Neuralink's blindsight product is going to restore vision by directly stimulating the visual cortex of the brain later this year. Neuralink's approach will give patients low resolution at first, but over time, it will help blind people see as well as you or I, and eventually enhance vision beyond normal human capabilities, or even create entirely new forms of visual perception. By connecting to different sensors, Neuralink could make us feel superhuman. And we haven't even touched on the medical applications. Beyond giving sight to the blind and helping paralyzed people walk, Neuralink is working on solving dementia, depression, addiction, tinnitus, seizures, and other neurological conditions. Apple Vision Pro, while impressive, simply doesn't operate in this domain at all. Oh, and when you think about the simple features of tracking your heart rate or doing general health monitoring, Neuralink will easily do that too. It's reading brain signals. Look, Neuralink isn't the first company to put chips in people's brains. BlackRock Neurotech has been doing this for years, and they've had some success with their Utah array. But here's the thing, their tech is kind of like the early smartphones before the iPhone came along. I've actually looked into their systems, and while they work, they're basically research tools. Bulky, limited, and definitely not something the average person would ever want. The electrodes are thicker, they don't get the same quality brain signals, and the whole system wasn't designed for widespread adoption. So what makes Neuralink different? Well, ironically, it's the Apple approach. They're not just making a brain implant, they're building the entire ecosystem. Their custom surgical robot, their super thin electrode threads, their wireless interface. It's all designed from the ground up to eventually be a consumer product. This is exactly why I'm so confident about Neuralink's future. It's not about who got there first, it's about who's building the complete package that actually works for everyday people. Plus, with Elon's track record of taking impossible sounding technology and making it mainstream, I'm betting on Neuralink to be the one that changes everything. Which all sounds incredible, but let's look at the flip side. Neuralink still faces an uphill battle. There are many challenges that Neuralink faces before it can truly destroy technologies like the Vision Pro. First, there are the obvious technical hurdles. While Neuralink has made remarkable progress, current age BCIs are still pretty limited in their capabilities. The bandwidth is improving, but nowhere near the theoretical limits I described. Developing a safe, reliable brain interface that works for everyone is a very complex engineering and medical challenge. Second, there are regulatory hurdles. Brain implants are reviewed extensively, as they should be. Expanding to other applications, especially non-medical ones, will require extensive clinical trials and regulatory approval. Third, there are legitimate ethical concerns. Privacy and security are paramount when we're talking about the technology that interfaces directly with the brain. How do we ensure these devices can't be hacked? How do we protect the privacy of neural data? Who owns the data generated by your brain? And perhaps most challenging is the psychological barrier. Many people are understandably hesitant about the idea of brain surgery for non-medical purposes. The notion of having a device implanted in your brain is a significant psychological hurdle that external devices like Vision Pro don't face. The company was founded with two distinct missions that Elon Musk has been very clear about. Number one, to solve all brain and spine problems. And number two, to enable humans to merge with artificial intelligence. The first mission is already underway with the current human trials, but it's the second mission that represents a truly revolutionary approach. It's the reason Elon started Neuralink in the first place. Elon believes that as AI continues to advance exponentially, humans face an existential risk. Not necessarily because AI will become evil, but because we may become irrelevant if we can't keep up.
yeah, this is going to sound pretty weird, but achieve a sort of symbiosis with artificial intelligence. So, but this is not a mandatory thing. This is a thing that you can choose to have if you want. Even in a benign AI scenario, we will be left behind. And so, and hopefully it is a benign scenario, but I think with a high bandwidth brain-machine interface, I think we can actually go along for the ride. And we can effectively have the option of merging with AI.
Neuralink's approach bypasses our traditional senses entirely. These threads connect to a device called the link that sits flush with the skull, wirelessly transmitting data between your brain and external devices. The surgery takes less than an hour, and while it sounds intense, it's designed to be painless. Now, instead of using our eyes to see digital information or our hands to interact with it, we could access and control things through our thoughts alone. But let's be clear about where both technologies stand today. Despite my admittedly provocative title, Apple Vision Pro isn't going to disappear tomorrow, and Neuralink isn't going to replace it next week. Apple Vision Pro is a real product you can buy right now. It's a cutting-edge consumer device with impressive capabilities. People are using it for entertainment, productivity, and communication. Apple has a massive ecosystem and extraordinary resources to continue developing this technology. Neuralink, meanwhile, is still in its very early stages of human testing. Only a handful of people have received the implant at the time I'm recording this, all with paralysis of some form. The FDA has only approved its use for these specific medical applications. But what these people can do is remarkable. Nolan shared this. The link has helped me reconnect with the world, my friends, and my family. It's given me the ability to do things on my own again without needing my family at all hours of the day and night. Before the implant, they relied completely on caregivers for any computer interaction. Nolan relied on his mom to support him closely. Brad relied on his wife for almost everything. Sure, they still need a lot of support, but they have much more freedom than before. Now they can send emails, play complex video games, and even edit videos, all with just their mind and no hands. Look at this video Brad made entirely on his own.
Hi, I am Brad Smith. I'm the third person in the world to receive the Neuralink brain implant. I'm also the first person with ALS and the first nonverbal, which means that I rely on it for all communication. I am making this video using the brain-computer interface to control the mouse on my MacBook Pro. This is the first video edited with the Neuralink, and maybe the first edited with a BCI. This is my old voice narrating this video, cloned by AI from recordings before I lost my voice. The actual implant is the size of 5 US quarters in a stack. It replaced the hole in my skull. The threads are placed by a robot just a few millimeters into my brain, avoiding the blood vessels so there is almost no bleeding. It connects to the computer via Bluetooth, and the computer does a lot of processing.
These are incredible medical applications, but they're still limited to specific cases. Neuralink being an everyday use tech is still years away, and they still have a lot of challenges to overcome. Regulations, ethical considerations, and obviously everyday people actually adopting the technology, just to name a few. So in the short term, these technologies aren't direct competitors. They serve different purposes for different people. But when we think about the long-term trajectory of human-computer interfaces, the picture changes dramatically. We're already seeing signs of these technologies beginning to converge. In mid-2024, Synchron, one of Neuralink's competitors in the BCI space, demonstrated something remarkable. They showed a paralyzed patient controlling Apple Vision Pro using their brain implant. Without using their hands or eyes, this person was able to navigate the Vision Pro interface through thought alone. This is a powerful indicator of where things are headed. Right now, the most advanced interface for Vision Pro, eye tracking and hand gestures, is already being passed by direct brain control. This convergence is going to continue. The way I think about it, there are 3 stages in the evolution of human-computer interfaces. The first are external devices, like smartphones and computers, that we control with physical movements. And then there are wearable devices like Apple Vision Pro that create immersive experiences and use more natural controls. But then there are brain-computer interfaces like Neuralink that bypass external interfaces entirely and connect directly to our brain. Look at the history of human-computer interfaces. We started with punch cards in the 1950s, moved to keyboards in the 1970s, then the mouse in the 1980s. Touch interfaces arrived with the iPhone in 2007, and voice interfaces like Siri and Alexa in the 2010s. Now we have spatial computing with the Vision Pro in 2025, using our eyes and hands to control digital objects. Each evolution brings a 10x improvement in how naturally we can communicate with our technology. But each also remains fundamentally limited by our biological input methods. Brain interfaces like Neuralink represent the logical endpoint of this evolution, removing the middleman entirely. It's not just the next step, it's the destination this technological journey has been heading toward all along. So given everything we discussed, will Neuralink actually destroy Vision Pro? In the immediate future, absolutely not. These technologies are currently used for different purposes altogether, but that will change very soon. Vision Pro is a consumer device focused on entertainment and productivity, while Neuralink is a medical device helping people with paralysis regain independence. And Elon's definitely committed to this. I mean, just look at the numbers. The company is valued at around $8 to $9 billion, and they've only just started doing human trials. So this valuation is pre-revenue, without even rolling out the first consumer product. So safe to say, with Elon leading the team, they are all in. But you may not realize why this money and this commitment to the mission are so important. Consider what would happen if you were to get a brain implant and the company went bankrupt several years later. That's the unfortunate reality Australian woman Rita Leggett had to go through in 2013 when the company that made her brain implant, called Neura Vista, ran out of money. Against her will, she had to get the implant removed. This was devastating because the implant improved her well-being as she had more control over her lifelong epileptic seizures. We had been surgically introduced and bonded instantly, she said. With the help of science and technicians, we became one. I wish I could have kept it. I would have done anything to keep it. Years later, she still cries when she talks about the removal of the device. Her husband says it's a form of trauma. I have never again felt as safe and secure, nor am I the happy, outgoing, confident woman I was, she explained in an interview after the device had been removed. I still get emotional thinking and talking about my device. I'm missing and it's missing. They took away that part of me that I could rely on, she said. This is a real example of a heartbreaking outcome that is far less likely with Neuralink. Unlike smaller startups that came before, Neuralink has Elon Musk's backing, the same visionary who built Tesla and SpaceX into sustainable industry giants. With a $9 billion valuation before they've even launched a consumer product, they have the resources to support patients long term. This isn't just another tech startup, it's being built for stability from day one. So what's the timeline here? When will brain interfaces begin to seriously challenge external devices like Vision Pro? Neuralink is still a relatively small company, with around 450 employees split between Silicon Valley and Austin, Texas. The current focus remains on medical applications, and that's likely to continue for several years. Elon Musk has suggested a timeline of 5 to 10 years before we might see the first non-medical applications, with more widespread adoption occurring within 15 to 20 years. Now, technology adoption often follows an S-curve, kind of like this. Slow progress at first, then rapid acceleration, then saturation. The original iPhone was released just 17 years ago, and now everyone has a smartphone. Once brain interfaces cross certain thresholds of safety, capability, and cost, adoption will accelerate rapidly. Neuralink is already expanding their human trials. They're going to be starting soon in Miami, Florida, and Toronto, Canada. After that, they're planning to expand to the UK, New Zealand, and UAE. Elon eventually wants to make the surgery just 600 seconds, or 10 minutes, with only local anesthesia. When we zoom out and look at the big picture, the arc of human-computer interaction, I believe brain interfaces represent the ultimate destination. Throughout human history, we've used tools to extend our capabilities, from the first stone tools to the printing press, to smartphones, to AR headsets. Each technological revolution has brought us closer to seamless interaction with information. But all these tools have remained external to us. We pick them up and put them down. The brain interface represents something fundamentally different, technology that becomes part of us. Apple understands this trajectory. Their evolution from mouse and keyboard to touch interfaces to spatial computing with Vision Pro shows they're constantly working to make the interface between humans and computers more natural and intuitive. But there's a fundamental limit to what can be achieved with external devices. No matter how advanced Vision Pro becomes, it will always be limited by our biological senses and physical movements. Brain interfaces like Neuralink represent a paradigm shift that transcends these limitations. By connecting directly to the brain, they have the potential to achieve a level of bandwidth, integration, and sensory enhancement that no external device can match. This isn't just another technological upgrade. It is the next stage of human evolution, not through the slow process of natural selection, but through a deliberate choice to enhance our biological capabilities with technology. Will this future arrive next year? No. 5 years from now? Probably not for most people. But in the long arc of human-computer interaction, I believe brain interfaces will ultimately make all prior interfaces obsolete. And when that happens, devices like Vision Pro, no matter how impressive they seem today, will fall by the wayside like Google Glass, as Neuralink bridges the gap between our current reality and a future where the distinction between human and computer begins to blur. So, if Neuralink offered a consumer version tomorrow, they gave you all the functionality of Vision Pro, plus the ability to control all your smart home devices, browse the internet, and create content with just your thoughts, would you get the implant? I want to see where you stand on this. YouTube thinks you'll like this video, so click on it and subscribe if you made it to the end.